Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday morning. Welcome back to Morning Musings here on NowTV. Happy New Year to you. Here it is, already January the 10th, 2025. Hope you had a fantastic holiday weekend. By the way, I would like to have your feedback. I am trying my little blue ball here for audio, and I couldn't find a way in my MacBook Pro to find it. Now it's lit up, and my computer clicked or did something, made a sound when I plugged it in. Pardon me. So I'm assuming that it's working, right? I'm assuming that's the case. But being technologically challenged, I don't know where to go in my computer to make sure that my audio is coming through my blue. But I'm hoping to get a little bit better of a direct sound instead of having a little bit of audio feedback here in my studio. So let me know, if you would, how this audio comes through, and we'll just see how that works out. Okay. Well, again, hope you had a fantastic holiday season. Hope Santa Claus was good to you. On December the 31st, I turned 75 years old. Unbelievable to me. But as I've shared with you before, I feel wonderful. Thank the good Lord, my health is good, and I just intend to keep right on going. By the way, let me make this announcement. It's a little bit early, but I do want those of you who watch Now TV in different places in March, and details will follow. In March of 2025, Lord willing, nothing happens, I will be in Australia for my fourth trip there to share the truth of covenant eschatology. As soon as possible, I will be posting a banner on my website, donkpreston.com and bibleprophecy.com, and so you'll be able to get the details. I'm waiting for all of the details to be finalized. We have our tickets bought, all right. We have the venue secured, and my good friend Al Pershawn and Dawn Steed, they are doing all of the coordination over there. Really, really looking forward to a return trip. And so if you're able, and if you're going perhaps to be in Australia, I already know of one person from America that's going to be there. They're going to travel. So this promises to be a very, very exciting time. Like I said, it'll be my fourth trip over there. I have just worked myself to the bone while I was there, and I won't go into a lot of details of that, but it's really kind of funny, of how hard I worked, how many times I spoke on the very first trip over there. And I told them, hey, look, I'm getting to be kind of old. I can't do that again. I'll just simply share this with you. After the first day of speaking, they took me back to the hotel room. I still had my suit on, obviously, and I fell face down into the bed. I woke up 14 hours later, and I didn't have my suit on. My wife had undressed me, taken my suit off, and I didn't know anything about it. I was absolutely gone. So that's what I mean when I told Al this time around, Al and Dawn both, I said, look, I can't do that again. I might not wake up. So anyway, really, really, really looking forward to it. Okay, want to get back to our discussion of the unseen parousia. Everyone in the futurist world believes that we are looking forward to a yet future event in which Jesus, in a physical body, now, yes, they believe it's a transformed physical body, but they still believe it's physical. But they believe that at the end of time, the end of the current Christian age, Jesus the sky opens up. I used to believe all this, by the way. I taught this. I preached this. I absolutely believed in it one time until I learned better. But nonetheless, the sky opens up. There is an audible sounding of a trumpet that is heard around the globe, and the globe sees Jesus as this 5'5" Jewish man descending out of heaven. Now you got to ask yourself the question, since the earth is a globe. No, I don't accept the flat earth deal. But since the earth is a globe, how would it be possible for every person on the face of the earth to see Jesus coming out of heaven? You see, that doesn't work at all. Well, the reality of it is, ladies and gentlemen, and I've been sharing this with you for a good little while now. And by the way, thank you so very, very much for all the wonderful comments. And by the way, thank you for the growing list of subscribers. And may I respectfully request that you start supporting our ministry. I'm not going to go into detail, but I will say that we have lost a very significant amount of monthly support over the last year. We really need your help. That's all I'll say at this point. Just let me say again, we really need your help. Doesn't matter if it's $10 a month, okay? But I know there's some people out there who have the financial capability to support our ministry, and we really need it at this point. So I keep doing what I'm doing. I'm privileged and blessed to be able to spend my time researching and writing. I'm finishing up a book, by the way, on the millennium that I think is going to be a groundbreaking. I really think it's going to be a transformative book. It's going to be around 400 pages. There's nothing else like it anywhere. So be looking forward to that. But I've got to be able to spend my time researching and writing in order to be able to do things like that, in order to be able to come be with you, to pay the bills, for NowTV. So please consider that. All right. So 2 weeks ago, when I left you for vacation time, I took note of the fact that Paul, just like Jesus, taught that the parousia of Christ and the resurrection would occur in the unseen realm. It would not be optically manifest. Now, let me go back and lay a little bit of repetition on this incredibly important doctrine. And I know that some of you may be sitting there watching this going, wait a minute, Preston, what about every eye shall see him? By the way, I'm getting there. I will be discussing every eye shall see him. In the meantime, let me recommend that you go there, Revelation 1:7, and you read it very, very carefully. Not just the part about every eye shall see him, but every aspect of the verse. And again, I'll be talking about that verse later. Right now, I want to lay again just a little bit of the foundation of where we get the idea of an unseen parousia, unseen coming of the Lord, unseen resurrection, right? Isaiah chapter 26, Lord, when your judgments are in the earth, the righteous learn wisdom. But let favor be shown to the wicked, and he will not learn. They, that's the wicked, will not see. Now, the context here, folks, is the resurrection of Isaiah chapter 26. Those who are in the dust, rejoicing. Now, wait a minute. This is the resurrection. And Isaiah said, let your judgments, resurrection and judgment go hand in hand. Let your judgments be in the earth, and the righteous, they understand, they know, they learn. The wicked will not see, but then it says, but they will see. Wait a minute. That's a contradiction, isn't it? They will not see, but they will see? I really think John Calvin hit the nail on the head when he said he didn't understand, quite frankly. He didn't see the implications of what he said. But he said that in the judgment, the righteous will not see. He will not understand. Oh, but wait, he will see because he sees when it's too late. Now, folks, listen to me. If the resurrection is this earth-burning, time-ending, cosmos-destroying event, don't you think that even the most hardened atheist would know, boom, instantaneously, whoa, this is the end of time. This is the resurrection. Yeah. But Isaiah said, they will not see. They will not discern until it's too late. Same event, okay? Same identical event, resurrection and judgment. The righteous see it and understand this is the day of the Lord. The wicked see it and initially they don't get it until it's too late. Kind of like the wicked in the days of Noah. Noah, you're just crazy. What is this thing called a flood? What is this stuff called rain? What are you talking about? And then the ark was closed and it was locked and rain descended. It's like, whoa, hang on here. What is this? Is this what Noah's been talking about? But it was too late. Okay, so we have that. Then we have Luke chapter 17, in which the Pharisees came to Jesus, asking him when the kingdom was going to be established. Now, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, and last year I made a huge point of this in my debate with atheist scholar Richard Carrier. And he started out by saying, well, Jesus and his apostles had the same literalistic expectation of the day of the Lord, the judgment and the resurrection, that the Jews of the day had. Folks, that's categorically false. Here are the Pharisees in Luke chapter 17 asking Jesus when the kingdom was going to be established. What kind of kingdom were they expecting? Literal, physical, nationalistic, observable. And Jesus said, the kingdom does not come with observation. They're not going to be able to say, see here or see there. Matthew chapter 24, 26 and following. And Jesus said, the kingdom is in your midst. And you can just imagine them going, wait, what? Kingdom is in our midst? Where's the king sitting on the throne? Where are all the dead Romans? What happened to our borders? You see, ladies and gentlemen, when, for instance, dispensationalists say, that's the kind of kingdom we're looking for, they desperately need to give heed to Jesus' words, the kingdom does not come with observation. Now, catch this, folks. Catch the power of this. The kingdom comes at the time of the Parousia, the coming of the Lord. Matthew 16, 27, 28. I hope you've got it memorized by now. The Son of Man will come in the glory of the Father with his angels and shall reward every man according to his works. Now, in the first place, this is the judgment, which is the resurrection. And then he said, for verily I say unto you, there are some standing here which shall not taste of death until they see the kingdom coming, as some translations or as some parallel passages say, in power and great glory. What do we have here? Coming of the Lord, judgment, resurrection, kingdom. And remember, in Matthew 16, 27, 28, Jesus is saying that parousia, thus that judgment, thus that resurrection, thus that everything would be in the glory of the Father. Okay, I've got to hurry here. Already half out of time. But there are many other texts that we have already looked at to give us insight to the reality that when Jesus and his apostles were talking about the coming of the Lord, the judgment and the resurrection, they were not talking about an optically visible event. How they described the coming of the Lord on the clouds with the shout, with the trumpet, with the angels, etc., to destroy heaven and earth, that language was not to be understood literally. It was to be understood metaphorically and to describe a time in which Christ, exercising his sovereignty, the sovereignty committed to him by the Father, henceforth the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to the Son, that all men might honor the Son as they honor the Father. John 5, 21 and 22. Folks, you just got to catch the power of this. Now, let's pick up on that, this unseen reality. I mean, when Jesus said, I'm going to come in judgment as the Father has come in judgment, then, as we pointed out numerous times here, Jesus had never, ever, ever seen the Father come out of heaven or leave heaven in a bodily, physical shape or form, observable with the eyes, never seen him destroy heaven and earth, etc., etc. But that's how Jesus was going to come in judgment and in the resurrection and in the kingdom. Okay. So we closed 2 weeks ago with a reference to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. And I'm not going to take the time to read all of it again because here I am almost 20 minutes in. But Paul does say, for our light affliction. Now, look, we could talk about this aspect of it over and over. But let me just simply urge you to consider the following. The suffering that Paul is talking about was his suffering for the cause of Christ. He was engaged in experiencing the sufferings of Christ. But that sufferings of Christ would fill up the measure of sin, and Jesus would come in judgment of the persecutors, which were the Jews, and he would come in AD 70, Matthew 23, 29 and following. So that tells us right up front, that gives us the eschatological context of this suffering, the filling up of the measure of sin, and the subsequent and the consequent coming of the Lord. But wait a minute. That time of the vindication of that suffering is the time of the resurrection that he's going to talk about. And not only that, the time of the vindication of that suffering, as we developed 2 weeks ago, is the time of covenant transformation. From the old covenant glory of death, ministration of death, to the new covenant glory of life. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 13 and following. Verse 9 and following. Are you tracking with me here, folks? All right. For our light affliction, the sufferings that we are suffering in order to fill up the measure of the sufferings of Christ, for Colossians 1:24, works in us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Now watch what he says. For For light affliction versus eternal glory. Now, there's another aspect of this, folks, that we cannot overlook. One of these days, I'm going to spend a lot of time developing this for you. But this transformation from the old covenant to the new is now couched in a shame versus glory context. Our light affliction, that's shame. And in the first century and in the ancient Near East as a whole, anytime you were part of a persecuted group, you were the object of shame. And all throughout the New Testament, as well as the Old, by the way, all throughout the New Testament, those who were being persecuted were the objects of shame. But if and when they, as a collective group, were vindicated and the tables were turned and their persecutors became the persecuted, read 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, they were resurrected. They were given glory. So I don't have time to develop this extensively right now, but this is contained right here in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Our light affliction, which is but for a moment, works in us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Persecution versus glory. Now watch. For, Greek word gar, which says, okay, pay attention now. For we do not look at the things that are seen. Well, what are the things that are seen? Their persecution, their shame. You don't see shame, do you? Our light affliction, which is but for a moment, works in us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. We do not look at the things that are seen, but at the things that are unseen. Now, folks, remember, we're in a context of covenantal transformation. The transformation from the old covenant glory of Moses and the law to the new covenant glory of Jesus Christ. But that transformation from the law of Moses, which was the law written and engraven in stones, was the ministration of death. Do you catch that? The old covenant was a covenant of death. And what did that old covenant ministration of death do? It worked death in them. You remember what Paul said in Romans chapter 7? I find that a law working in my members, when that which was intended to bring me life worked death. So the old covenant that Paul is talking about in Romans chapter 7, I had not known sin except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. Well, what law was that? That's the Decalogue. And Paul says that was given to give life. But instead of bringing life, it worked death in my members. And it was the ministration of death. So here Paul in 2 Corinthians 3 is talking about the transformation from the old covenant glory, which it had. It was a spiritual law, actually, that was good and holy and righteous, but it could not impart righteousness. It demanded perfection. Well, unfortunately, human beings are not capable of perfection. That's why Paul said, I was alive once. Without the law, commandment came, sin revived, and I died. He was alive under the law until he sinned, which is basically immediately. But again, do you see that Romans chapter 7 and 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and following, Paul is discussing the same identical motifs. It is all about death and it's all about life, but it is not talking about biological death. It is talking about, and I know some people don't like the term, I do personally, because Paul is talking about a spiritual relationship or the absence thereof. And we can use all sorts of terms, and we can say, well, it was a covenant relationship. It was a childhood relationship. Now, are we the sons of God? 1 John chapter 3. Paul says, don't have the spirit of bondage again unto fear, but rather unto liberty. Romans chapter 8. Because you see, we have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. Okay? So the loss of that relationship through sin was a loss of childhood relationship. Kind of like Adam lost his sons of God relationship. But now, to pass from the law which killed, which alienated, my son is dead, but now he is alive through reconciliation and repentance. And look, I could go on and on and on this. I'm just trying to help us see the covenantal relationship that is at focus here. The spiritual relationship that is the focus of Paul's discussion. Paul is not talking about a tissue issue, i.e., he is not talking about biological death, biological relationship between a physical father and a physical son. It is a spiritual sonship. I'm completely out of time today. I'm sorry that I didn't get any further, but I hope this has been very, very helpful. I will see you next week.